All right, so one of the questions we get all the time is, hey, I bought your Annihilator Broadheads. I just opened up the package. They just showed up, I opened up the package. They don't feel as sharp as a razor blade or some of the other broadheads that I've used in the past. And, it just seems like some of the customer expectations, not all of them, maybe 10% of our customers say, hey, this is not near as sharp as I expected it to be.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so our broadheads are pitched at 30 degrees, and that 30 degrees comes at the very, very end of the broadhead. So you're going from 100 thou to 30 thou in a very short profile, which makes our blade edges super durable, super strong. But that 30 degrees also allows us to sharpen it on a flat stone, both front and back edges, and it keeps edge retention. Edge retention is very important to Brandon and I, and that's one of the reasons why we designed it that way. Think about a thin razor blade. When it hits something hard, that's why you don't take a knife and cut bone at your house or whatever with a knife, because it's very inefficient at doing that. It'll actually curl the edge and cause that to become dull. But when you have something similar like what we have on our blade edge, when it hits bone, the edges never roll over and it continues to drive. And that's one of the things that we've noticed since field testing this 4 or 5 years ago, bringing it to market, and all of our customers' feedback has been, I've taken insane deflection shots and this broadhead should have moved and it didn't. It drove all the way through the bone on quartering to or frontal shot and didn't even deviate. So,
and that's just it. We don't make broadheads to be like knives because they're a different tool.
We're a broadhead.
We're
not a knife.
So you should not expect a broadhead to be like a knife. Now, our specific broadhead, we don't make it to be the sharpest broadhead out there. We actually want it, like Micah said, to be a greater edge retention. You're not going to roll over a 30-degree bevel when hitting any substrate in an animal.
That's made out of the same stuff that hammers are made out of.
So my question to anybody would be, you want to talk about sharpness? Well, let's talk about the life of sharpness going through an animal.
Yeah.
How sharp is the sharpest broadhead on impact? Well, it's sharper than the Annihilator. What about after it's gone through, right? Now how sharp is it?
Yeah.
And one of the things we're known for is the edge retention. In fact, every test that we've ever been in for edge retention, we pretty much always win.
Yeah.
And that's just because we don't use sharpness as our crutch, if you will, for a inferior design.
That's not what makes us lethal.
That's not
it's
what
a
makes
combination.
us lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, blood loss and hemorrhaging is great. You want that, and we produce that as well. But our broadheads are designed to put holes in animals and pass through that animal. We're trying to increase lethality, and we do so in a package that is durable, flies extremely well. But when it comes to sharpness, it's not a razor blade. It's not 15. It's not 20 degrees. We don't want it to be that. We want it to be 30. Now, can you change the bevel on them? Absolutely. If you're the guy that says, you know what, I don't buy edge retention, I'd rather have the sharpest, most wicked, scary sharp thing in the world, absolutely. Do a hollow grind. Go get a piece of PVC pipe, lay sandpaper on it, and start working the broadhead. It'll change the angle of that to whatever degree that piece of PVC piping would be.
Yeah.
You can also get the Work Sharp system, which has a hollow grind as well. There's options out there. However, I would say this. Go read the reviews about Annihilators specific to pass-throughs. Don't worry about the sharpness, and start asking other people who use our heads, well, do you get the pass-through or not?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Or what distance is on average you've taken? So you're a spokesman for Annihilator, or I see you a post all the time for Annihilator. You've taken this many animals. What's the common theme? The animal died in a very, very short distance, and to us, that's what makes us as bow hunters proud for what we designed, because we honestly feel this is the most lethal broadhead that you can shoot at an animal because of what it does besides the hemorrhaging and edge retention and everything else. We put holes in animals like Brandon says, but that air transfer through the animal's cavity and not allowing them to fill up with air after they've been shot, that's what makes this thing so lethal. It puts holes in them, sucks the air out both sides, causes them to die fast. So if you are interested in the broadhead and you're interested in talking to somebody about it, and you know people who actually shoot it, ask them those questions. Ask them, like, what was the shot? Was it like, was it quartering to? Was it dead on? Was it a frontal? How far did the animal die? And across the board, you're going to find out that this broadhead will drop animals in fractions of a time. It takes another broadhead. Not knocking broadhead companies, because Brandon and I will never knock another broadhead company, but what you will find is how fast this actually drops animals, and not just drops them, causes them to expire, right? And that's what makes this thing so lethal, and that's what we pride ourselves on, is trying to become as ethical of bow hunters. We want our customers to experience that. Makes the meat taste better, and most importantly, the animal suffers as least as possible.
Yep, absolutely. So do our broadheads put great blood on the ground?
Yes.
100%. I'd say on par with any other fixed blade head out there, maybe even better. But they're not a mechanical. They don't have that ability for the capillary refill. So if you're expecting a 4-inch slash, wrong expectation with our head. We'll tell you right now, don't expect that.
Yep.
However, if you put that broadhead in the thoracic cavity of that animal and you hit something that produces blood, guess what? The hole's open. It's going to put that blood on the ground.
And even if you don't, we always tell guys too, it's like the insurance policy of broadheads. You go too far back on accident, well, guess what? Now you have a hole in the guts where stuff's going to come out of. You go too far forward, I'd venture to say that this is, and not touting our horn, but this is the best broadhead in the world for driving through bone because of the fact that it moves mass away from the arrow shaft, allowing the entire projectile to go through that bone friction free, because we're the only broadhead in the world that fully shields the arrow shaft 360 degrees around.